Hello and welcome to day 11 of the Halloween Craft Countdown, where I'm sharing 20 brand new Halloween papercraft projects to make with your Cricut over 20 days. Today's project is this fun stained glass effect shadow box with a spooky ghost which is just popping out and coming towards you. Apologies in advance, this is another video I'm recording with my croaky throat, so I am still a little bit full of cold, so apologies for that, but hopefully you can still hear and understand me just fine. But if not, that's okay, because this is actually a fairly simple project to cut and to make, so you don't need to listen to me that carefully anyway. But let's crack on and get started and find out where to download the file. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the Halloween Craft Countdown at craftwithsarah.com/HCC24. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/HCC24 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Halloween Craft Countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. The download comes in a zip folder. You will need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into Cricut Design Space. Here's how the ghost design loads into Cricut Design Space. The only thing we need to do is to change the size to make sure it's going to fit in the frame that you want to put it in. You could also shrink it down to put it on a square-shaped greetings card instead, but I tend to find with these stained glass designs, the bigger you make them, the better they look. So I've bought a bit of a bigger frame than usual, and here's how to measure it. Here's my shadow box that I'm going to be using for this project. And this is an IKEA ribber frame. It's quite a few years old now. I've had it safely stored away in my craft stash waiting for the perfect project. I'm not sure they make them exactly like this anymore, but if you can find one maybe secondhand or somewhere, then these are really nice frames to use. To find out what size to make the design in Design Space, open up the little tabs on the back of whatever frame you're using so that we can take out the pieces that are inside. You can either measure the back of the frame, or if your frame contains a spacer, which looks like this, you can measure that instead. So if you were measuring the spacer, you'd go all the way from one edge to all the way on the other side of the other edge. So for me, it's showing at just over 9 inches. It's about 9.1, but I think I could get away with 9 inches because that's still going to make the card sit on this spacer and it's not going to fall through the middle. So to make things easier, I might just go with 9, but let's double check. So if you had the back of the frame, you would just go from one side to the other. And again, that's coming in at just over 9 inches. But I think to keep things simple, I'm going to go with just a nice round 9 number within Design Space. Now you know the size to make the design. Click it to select it. Make sure the padlock icon above the width and the height box is closed. If yours is open, you can click it to close it. And then type your number into one of those measurements and then press enter on your keyboard and the other one will change to keep it all in proportion. So this is now 9 by 9 inches, which means I am going to need 12 by 12 card to cut it from because it'll be too big to cut on a 4 card, which is what I normally use, but that is okay. I'm just going to go ahead and press make. This will separate out all the colours. And normally I would change my paper size, but you see I can't do that for this one as it is too big for that A4. So I'll keep on 12 by 12 for everything. Press continue to connect to my Cricut and get everything cut out from cardstock. Here are all the layers of my ghost cut out and it's already looking pretty awesome. You can really see that stained glass effect with all the different colours as the pieces build up. To find out what order to put all the layers together in, check out the assembly guide that's included in your download folder. These designs are quick to put together because most of the layers are glued. We're only going to use foam squares for one of them. The glue I'll be using for this project is Barely Art glue, but I also really like Collall. Both of these glues are great because they don't bend or wrinkle the cardstock like some glues can do. For the foam squares, I'm using Dot and Dab, but any will do. These ones are a little bigger than I normally use because we've got a little bit more surface area to work for because I made this bigger than I normally would. As with all my layer designs and shadow boxes, we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. The very bottom layer is the one that's just the solid square, and then we'll be building up the background with our glue layers. So the next one is the slightly brighter blue, and this just gets glued right on top. The reason for gluing most of the layers over the foam squares is it just ends up looking more realistically like a stained glass panel, because if you think about it, if you had the glass window in front of you, that's not going to have a lot of depth to it. So if you foam squared everything, it just doesn't quite look as effective as it does when it's glued. And also, because there's a lot of small spaces in this design, if you foam square every layer, the shadowing effect can mean you don't see the colours through as vibrantly as you do when you glue it. This goes right on top, and try to get your edges lined up nice and neatly, because remember we've measured this to fit exactly in the frame. So if you're too off on any of those edges, it might not fit inside your frame anymore. The next layer is this green one, making up more of those stained glass patterns in the background. Once again, this goes right on top. Then next we've got the black layer. This makes up the leading between all of the different colours. And this is our last glue one before we add the foam squares. There's a little fly buzzing around in here, so I'm sorry if you can see that peeking into my shot every now and then. Alright, so here's the background, and I've used really similar kind of colours for that, but that's sort of the idea, just to give a subtle changing effect without it being really, really obvious. I'm just going to pick up the rest of the layers to show you. We're now working on the top section of the design. So these bits was making up our background and the corners. And now the rest of it makes up the picture in the middle and then the coloured border around the edge. So your next layer, which is the purple one, this is going to be the one and only layer that gets foam squares on, and it's just to raise that background up a little tiny bit to give you a tiny bit of dimension and depth, and it also helps the picture to sort of focus the eye a bit more and draw more attention than if you were just to glue it. But if you don't have any foam squares, you absolutely can just glue this bit instead. It just won't maybe be quite as impactful as if you'd have used the foam squares. So turn this upside down and get my foam squares. You could also use foam tape to go down the sides instead. I prefer using the separate squares because I find with tape it can kind of buckle the card where it pulls it tight, where it's sticky all the way along, whereas this gives it room to sort of manoeuvre around the edge of those bits of foam. Now you'll notice that I'm not just putting one bit in each corner and calling it a day. I'm adding several different bits of the foam to each of the sides. I'm going to continue doing that for all 4 of them. And then I'm going to add some into the middle and also around these bits on the side. And that's to make sure that this has a really good even rise when it's stuck down. If you only put one little bit of foam in each of the corners, there's nothing to support the rest of the piece of cardstock, so you'll probably find that the weight of it makes it sort of dome downwards and it will touch that layer underneath in the middle rather than being raised above it, which is the effect that we're trying to do. So by adding some extra foam squares around these edges and in the middle of the ghost, it means it'll be more consistent, more 3D, and just look all together that little bit smarter and more professional. Alright, now I've got all of those on there. I'm going to peel the backs off to reveal the stickiness underneath. Right, that's all of these nice and sticky. So let's bring our existing layers back on, and it's time to get this stuck. So I'm going to gently line up those corners and then get it to where I think it's all lined up, and then gently drop it down. The reason for that is by gently dropping it, it means it hasn't actually stuck yet. So if I needed to, I could pick it up and reposition it, and I haven't damaged any of the cardstock. So that's a great way of just making sure you're happy in case you need to reposition. That's looking pretty good to me. So I'll push down and now get all of those foam squares nice and stuck. And that's it for the foam squares, super easy. All of the other pieces will be glued, and next up is the green. The closer to the top we get in these designs, the slightly trickier it gets to glue, because the edges are going to get a little bit narrower and there'll be less kind of big areas of cardstock to add the glue on. That's why glues like Bearly Art Glue are great, because they come with a really thin nozzle, so you can see I can get my glue in all these little areas really easily. If your glue doesn't have that, you can buy needle tip applicator bottles on websites such as Amazon, or find them in the craft store, and then you can decant your glue into those to make it easier to get the glue into the little places. Line up those edges and push down. If I hold it up, you can maybe see just that little bit of depth we've got with that foam square, raising everything up from the background. It looks really cool. 3 pieces left. Next is the sort of pale grey or off-white colour. Okay, so you see I've tried to get my glue in all of those little thin bits. It can be tricky. One of the things I normally really like about the Bearly Art glue is it dries really quick, but when you're doing something that needs lots of glue and you need to concentrate and put it in small areas, having it dry quick isn't always the positive, but it seems to have gone okay. My glue's also running out, so it's getting a little bit harder to squeeze the bottle. I think I'm actually going to switch my glue for these next layers to one that comes out the bottle a bit easier, and also one that doesn't dry quite as quick. It's also quite warm here because of my camera lights, which helps the glue dry quicker. Again, not always what you want. So I'm going to switch to this glue from Nuvo Tonic Studios. I don't use this glue all the time because I do find it comes out the bottle quite quick. So I normally end up putting a bit more on there than I intend. But again, it is another nice glue that doesn't bend the cardstock. It's just I don't often use it, especially if I'm doing sort of really little things, because I kind of make a mess with it. But for this one, I think it'll be okay. It's kind of hard to see what I'm doing on this one because it's white on a white table. For this one, I'm just going to push down carefully. I don't want my glue to start smushing out now, otherwise you'll be able to see it on those other colours. So just be really gentle. All right, one left to make our outline. This is the hardest one of all to glue because it's the narrowest one. I probably won't add glue on every single little bit, but I'll try and do a few of them. At least it's easier to see this time. Now I need to be really careful putting this on because I don't want to have to move it and drag that glue over all the colours that we want to see through. So take my time, carefully lower it into place, and then gentle pressing to stick it down. And there we go. This is how it's looking now. I'm going to wait for my glue to dry, and then it can go into my shadow box frame. Alright, so here's my frame all opened up. You would put your glass in the frame at this point. I'm not going to put mine in because it will just reflect off my camera lights and all you'll see is the camera. But if you are putting the glass in, give it a good clean first with some glass cleaner, or even sort of Spectacles glasses cleaner, something like that, to make sure you've not got any dust or dirt on it. And then as this particular type of shadow box design that we're doing with the stained glass isn't very thick, I'm going to keep the spacer in the frame so that the design will sit really close to the back. And here it is. That should fit perfectly in there, which it does. And there's still space to add the back of the frame on. There we go. And then push down all those tabs to seal it up. I'll just do 4 for now so that I can turn it round. You ready? Ta-da! I love it. It looks really cool, and when I've got the glass in there, it'll be even more effective. I've got that slight raised effect to bring the eye towards the ghost in the middle. I love how all those colours go. And then you've got the black leading outlines that tie it all together and really just finish it off. I really like this way of making shadow box frames. I think they look really, really effective. And if you like this ghost design, and you'd like some more, then check out the Instant Access bundle for the Halloween Craft Countdown for 6 more stained glass designs. The Instant Access bundle is the optional paid upgrade to this countdown, which means you get instant access to all 20 of the projects, so you can start them all straight away, and you can download them as many times as you want, whenever you want. You also get 18 additional bonus files that are only available in that Instant Access bundle, and 6 of those are stained glass shadow boxes just like this one. So if you purchase the Instant Access bundle, you would also get this witch design. You would get a pumpkin. You would get a raven. You would get this very scary vampire. You would get a mummy. And you would get my favourite of them all, this dragon. Love this with all the different shades of his scales. To find out more about the Instant Access bundle, you can follow the link in the description of this video or go straight to craftwithsarah.com/HCC24 bundle, and that will show you all of the additional bonus designs you get. And of course, don't forget you'll get the 20 projects from this countdown available to download whenever you want. I hope that you enjoyed this video on how to make the stained glass ghost design with your Cricut machine for Halloween. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for day 12 of the Halloween Craft Countdown. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!